Hey guys, Chris here with another filler video, and today we're going to be taking a look at a game that's still in alpha, which I feel has a ton of potential. Cube World, under development by Pixelmusement, which is essentially a husband and wife team in Germany. Now, at first glance, I already know what a bunch of you are thinking. Minecraft clone. Well, that presumption couldn't be further from the truth. Minecraft is a survival game where you need to mine resources and craft them into materials and tools to build bases and make a life for yourself in a hostile world. Hence the name Minecraft. Cube World is more akin to old 2D action RPGs like Secret of Mana, and even has hints of modern MMOs like World of Warcraft, where the ultimate goal of the game is, for the moment, to explore the world, complete quests, and grind out experience levels. Before starting the game, you have to create a character for yourself, which is a simple enough process, though the most important decision you need to make is your class. Presently, there are 4 classes with more planned: Warrior, Ranger, Mage, and Rogue. Warriors are actually the toughest class to play as, since they can only really perform melee combat, thus putting you in danger with every strike. Rangers and Mages are similar in that they specialize in ranged attacks, with Mages actually being the easiest class to play as, while Rogues are very unique compared to the other classes, as they provide a mix of both ranged and melee skills, and while they're very tricky to play as, they can be extremely powerful when played right. You also need to create a world. Now, one thing I find neat is that the different characters you create are not specifically linked to a single world. So you can have one character run through multiple worlds, or have multiple characters all playing through the same world. There's actually not really much to this process for the moment. Just name the world, feed in the seed, and hope you start next to some good places. Now, a couple things I should quickly point out. The first is that this game plays at a perfect 60 frames per second on my system, almost 100% of the time. Granted, I'm on a fairly beefy 4 GHz system, and the minimum system requirements are somewhat high, but rest assured, the game plays much smoother in person than you're seeing on the video. The other thing I should point out is that I'm actually playing the game at 1080p, but my footage is recorded at 720p. I couldn't record directly in 720p because GUI scaling isn't completely implemented yet. So if you attempt to play at any resolution less than 1080p, certain on-screen elements may not display properly or may overlap other elements. To that end, many of the smaller fonts are much clearer and easier to read when you're actually playing. Actually playing the game, though, does take a bit of practice. You move around with the typical AWDS keys and change the direction you're looking in with the mouse. The top left corner shows a compilation of the status of all party members, useful for multiplayer or for any pets you have. The bottom left is a message window. The top right shows a mini-map as well as environmental details, while the bottom of the screen shows you your status bars and your buttons. Of particular note, besides your hit points, is your MP bar, which I don't think is ever called mana or magic at any point, so let's just call it MP. All character classes use MP in this game, but typically the way it works is you build up MP by successfully attacking things. Then, when your MP is nice and high, you can charge up a powerful attack with the second mouse button and unleash it once it's fully powered, or as close to fully powered as you'd like it to be. You also get bonuses for chaining lots of attacks together without missing, and depending on what kind of enemy you're fighting, you're also going to need to learn to dodge with the middle mouse button. Basically, you hold the direction to dodge in, press the middle mouse button, and for a fraction of a second you'll be immune to all damage as you dodge out of the way, at the cost of a stamina bar, which will show up and recharge. Suffice to say, learning to dodge is the only way you'll survive in this game as you fight increasingly more powerful opponents. You see, one thing you need to pay attention to whenever you see the name of something is the color. The colors play a huge role in determining how powerful things are or what things will do to you under certain circumstances. For instance, the health bars for everything that can take damage will be one of 4 colors: gray, blue, red, or green. Gray means it's a static object that can't attack, like a scarecrow or a vase. Blue is for friendly characters who won't attack you, nor can you hurt them. Red is for hostile characters who will attack you if you get close enough. Green, however, is for neutral characters, mostly animals, who won't attack you normally, but will attack if they feel threatened, either because you attacked them or because a fight broke out in their vicinity. You also need to pay attention to the color of the names of characters and places. White character or place names indicates that the power level of that character or place is equal to or less than your own, thus it shouldn't be too tricky to deal with them. Cyan indicates something is a little more powerful than you, but not so much that you shouldn't be able to deal with it. Orange indicates something that's a lot more powerful than you, and thus dealing with it will be pretty difficult. Red indicates something that's far more powerful than you, to the point where beating it will be nearly impossible. However, you can skew these odds in your favor by finding rare items that are more powerful than normal for their power level. The order goes white, green, blue, purple, yellow, with the later colors also being related to specific kinds of gemstones you can find for crafting purposes, specifically emerald, sapphire, ruby, and diamond. As far as I'm aware, diamond-rated items are essentially twice as powerful for their power level than regular white items, but are of course exceptionally difficult to come across. There's also supposedly red-named items, but I have yet to see one, so I can't confirm or deny their existence. Now, this all plays into a special number being tracked for absolutely everything referred to simply as power. Power starts as low as 1 and goes as high as 100, at least for the moment, as this is being changed in the next upcoming release. The idea is that early on, getting your power up is quick and easy, and you can jump several amounts of power in a single experience level. But later on, you start to get diminishing returns, and it gets to the point where you may need to gain several levels just to go up one more level of power. Your power shoots up to 10 by experience level 3, and even gets up to 49 by experience level 20. But to get up to 100 requires you to reach experience level 1981. So naturally, most people aren't ever going to see that without cheating. Your character's own power level doesn't determine their stats in any way. Rather, it determines the maximum power level of the equipment you can equip, which is where most of your stats come from, such as your attack and defense ratings. Now, the very first thing you should do in this game, even before you grind levels, is go to the nearest city, buy some pet food, and get yourself a pet. The sooner you get a pet, the sooner your battles will become easier, as pets will not only attack whatever you attack, but can distract enemies if you're further away, giving you more time to line up your attacks without being directly attacked yourself. Plus, once you distribute enough skill points, you can ride some pets to get around the world faster, which, considering how far everything is away from each other, is nothing but a good thing. Actually, the sheer distances involved is another thing that's being addressed in the upcoming release, as everything will be much closer together than before to cut down on the travel times. However, the kind of pet you go for at first is going to be based on the kind of food available in the general store. Carrots, chocolate donuts, candy, and waffles are the 4 most common food items to find in stores, and could respectively be used to tame bunnies, moles, black cats, and terriers. While you're at it, you may also want to see if the store has an iron lamp with a differently colored name, since the white iron lamp you start with isn't really all that great for splunking, and you'll probably want to get a better one as soon as possible. Other kinds of pet food will be dropped at random, and part of the trick to getting the best pets is to figure out which animals want which kinds of food. Some animals, like raccoons, snout beetles, and mosquitoes, are hostile and will normally attack you, but hold out the right kind of food, and you can indeed tame them. Once you have a pet, now's the time to start grinding levels and complete quests. Every in-game day, each area of the world will have various quests available, indicated by crossed swords on the map screen. And most of the time, these will be actual locations to explore, such as forests, pyramids, ruins, etc. Sometimes, though, it'll just be some random place with a boss monster stinking things up. The upcoming release is also going to add multi-objective quests that can be given to you by NPCs. Completing quests earns you platinum coins, which can be used to adapt the items you find to match your current power level, thus making a weak item stronger, or a strong item you can't use weaker so that you can use it. Though there is a bit of a bug with the game where the platinum coin cost to adapt goes up way too fast, so chances are you won't be using this mechanic much, if ever. Once midnight strikes, though, all the quests change, so trying to complete quests at night is often a bad idea, as the quest objective can disappear rather suddenly. Defeating boss monsters can also net you spirit cubes, which can be used in combination with any ores you mine to customize your weapons. Though due to an interesting bug, it seems as though there's plans to allow customization of other things besides weapons in the future. Adding cubes to weapons will basically make them more powerful, and should be done with any weapons you intend to use for a while. Though it's always good to leave some room for spirit cubes, since they can add additional unique powers. The only catch with spirit cubes is that they have to be within a few power levels of the weapon in question without going over. So sooner or later, you're going to end up with a massive number of spirit cubes you can't really do anything with. at least until a mechanic is added to make adapting the cubes themselves possible or something else along those lines. As far as crafting is concerned, you'll mostly be using it to make potions and food items. You can also make equipment with it, but this only really factors into the early game, or if you find formulas for powerful equipment requiring rare gemstones. Potions are used to heal you in the heat of combat, since you can move around while drinking one, while food items are slower to consume and can only be consumed while you're staying still. So they serve as a good way to recover following combat if you can't afford to respawn for whatever reason. And speaking of respawning, the game is not hardcore in any way. If you die, all that happens is you respawn at the nearest angel statue. No loss of items, money, or anything like that. However, any enemies you were fighting will have their health reset to maximum. So if you were really close to beating a boss, well, you're gonna have to fight it all over again. There's also a bug which can trigger bosses to reset their health if they need to climb a surface to chase you, or if they're at the surface of a lake of water and pop out of it momentarily. So just something to keep in mind for the moment. As said before, this is a public alpha, and the initial release was over a year ago with no major updates since then, so there's still plenty of minor bugs and missing features. The game's primary author, who goes by the screen name Wole, is actually pretty bad at keeping people up to date on the state of the project, and I'll sometimes go for months without a peep. Then, all of a sudden, new information right out of the blue as if there hasn't been any reason to worry. Now, to be fair, this is actually a common problem for solo indie developers. In fact, even I used to have that issue. Plus, it can be a really bad habit to just break in the first place, especially since Wole has opted to go for large updates less frequently, as opposed to the Minecraft approach of small updates more frequently. There are lots of extremely neat features in the pipeline though, and while the development process is slow, partly because the game's designer is making his own graphical editing suite at the same time as working on this game has huge amounts of potential, and I'm really looking forward to all the things to come with this game. At the moment, if you want to buy into the public alpha, simply head on over to the Pixelmusement website at pixelmusement.com. Create a new login, then simply buy the game for $20 or €15 and download it. There's also a quote demo version you can test before buying, which really isn't much of anything, but simply a means to make sure that the full game will run without any issues. And as far as I'm aware, once you've bought the game, updates will be free from then on, as the launcher will perform update checks and download new versions automatically. Before I sign off on this video though, there's a couple other features I want to quickly mention. One of them is the ability to sail boats and hang glide. Given enough skill points, these modes of travel are very fast and neat to take advantage of, especially gliding through the sky and through the clouds, which is indeed possible if you start from high up enough. The other thing is that the game does indeed have multiplayer support, but there's certain bugs which exist in multiplayer which don't exist in single player, a couple of which are kinda game breaking, such as pets not being able to level up properly. And just something to keep in mind if you want to play the current release with other people. But yeah, as it stands, Cube World is just a grind fest, but it's a grind fest that looks good, plays good, has plenty of exploration aspects, and lots of different things to try out. And me personally, I find its textureless, voxel aesthetic highly appealing. It really comes down to if you enjoy the style of gameplay on display or the aesthetics, and if either are appealing, then it's definitely worth a shot. Might seem slightly steep at $20 for the moment, but given some of the other things people can spend $20 on when it comes to gaming, I think it's a good way to support the authors so they can continue their work on this game and make it even better. And that's all I got to say for this filler. So stay tuned for the next one, which will be going online Saturday, November 15th, and as before, I'll leave you all with a music cue to give you an idea of what's coming.